Our first guest is a criminal. Is an actual convicted felon. He is the former CFO of Crazy Eddie, which for any longtime New Yorker may remember their ads in the 70s and 80s. It was an electronics retailer, also a fraud through and through from the beginning. And so we have the CFO. He now does work on forensic accounting. And I want to bring in Sam Antar. So who are you? What do you do?
I'm a retired criminal.
Are you a reformed criminal?
No.
Okay.
You think I'd be here right now if I didn't get caught? Well, maybe I would as a legitimate CEO that hasn't gotten caught yet.
Do criminals ever truly retire?
Yeah, because after a while, what's the benefit of doing any more crime? Even though at times I feel like I'd love to do crime again. After meeting some of the people in this room here, I said, oh man, this would be easy just to go back into the game again.
So tell us about how you got into the business and what was Crazy Eddie and how did you become its CFO?
Crazy Eddie's was a small garden variety electronics operation. We engaged mostly in income tax evasion. Stealing the sales tax gave us the competitive advantage because that 6 or 7% we can steal gave us the opportunity to discount more to customers and still make money. So we were pretty much being competitive by evading taxes in the old days. It was a family-oriented business. We wanted to grow, and they wanted somebody in the inside, family member, to be the CFO of the company if the company grew to a certain level. So they picked me because I was the nerd that read the Wall Street Journal and Barron's when he was 12 years old. So they put me through college so I can become an accountant to help them commit more sophisticated crimes in the future. So eventually I go to Baruch College right over here on 23rd Street. I get my CPA, and of course I become a criminal mastermind, doing white-collar crime.
And
I went to college to become an effective white-collar criminal. White-collar criminals should never cheat themselves out of getting a good education. So I wasn't one of those kids that cheated in school or anything. I earned my grades because I wanted to be the best at what I was doing in crime.
Did you know that was the ultimate destination, was
Yes, of
crime at
course.
the time?
Yes.
And you were okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
And
It was fun.
So
I made
what-
a lot of money.
So
When I was 14 years old, I got a $1,500 bonus in 1971 in cash. Does anybody have any 14-year-old kids? Imagine if your kid came home with a $1,500 cash bonus today, even. And the money, of course, is not worth as much as it was back then. Go ahead.
So what was the most useful thing you learned from accounting for a life of criminality?
Is that people are very, very gullible. People are too trusting. As a criminal, I learned to consider your humanity as a weakness to be exploited in the execution of my crimes. In other words, your good nature, your wanting to trust people, you wanting to give people the benefit of the doubt, that gave me the opportunity to execute my crimes. Second part is that people are, you steal more with a smile than you can with a gun. Anybody knows how I was working the crowd here, shaking hands, smiling, and everybody was happy with me, right? You see, if people like you, it's easier to steal from them because they feel like they're comfortable with you.
So let's talk, that's nice and theoretical, but let's talk practical. So obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would like to steal the income tax or the sales tax that they owe, but you have auditors who are forced to come in. So how do you dupe the people whose job it is to make sure that you're not stealing?
When it comes to fraud, the distraction is always more important than the lie. Now, lying's not a problem. You can ask me any question here, and I'll lie to you right to your faces. You will know the difference. But the point is that if you can distract somebody from doing their job, chances are they're not going to ask you the question that you have to lie about. So in the Crazy Eddie case, let's take auditors. The audits would be done over a period of, say, 8 weeks. So they'd have to be 12.5% each week, right? So by week 6 out of 8, they should have 75% of their work done in 75% of the time, and 25% of the work left to do in 25% of the time. My job was to stall them by having only 25% of the work done in 75% of the time, so that they had had to do 75% of the work in only 25% of the time, which would cause them to cram, rush to get things done, and miss key audit procedures, and it worked every single year. Do you know why? Because in the 1980s, there were no females in accounting. There were none. It was a male-dominated profession, and most of the legwork was done by 21 to 25-year-old kids fresh out of college that were single. And what's the easiest way to distract a male auditor from doing their jobs?
Female accountants.
As beautiful as you. And they spend most of their time flirting with the females instead of doing their jobs. And every single year, like Pavlov with the dog, you put the food in front of the dog, it salivates. Well, you put the female in front of the accountant, they salivate, they don't even do anything else. That's pretty much how we were able to succeed at our frauds. We didn't get caught because of our auditors. We got caught because somebody thought that Crazy A's was a gold mine. And they took advantage of a drop in the stock price, and they took over the company right from out under us. In other words, we were a victim of our own fraud.
Now,
Oh, I was going to say, talk to us about that moment. What happened when you heard that someone was actually interested in the company and you knew that it was a fraud?
Well, we tried to take it over at $7 a share. We knew that people were hunting the company to take it over, so we made a bid at $7 a share. And they say, why are you going to pay $7 a share for a company you know is worthless? Because we weren't going to use our money anyway. We're going to defraud the idiots on Wall Street, take all of their money, have them finance the takeover, and we were going to get 35% of the company for nothing. So we bid $7 a share, and guess what? Some idiot out there actually bid $8 a share, thinking that we were trying to steal the company. In fact, the initial investigation into the Crazy Eddie fraud, the SEC thought that we deliberately understated our numbers to take over the company on the cheap.
well, I want to back up a second. What is the difference? And Sam was a guest on a recorded podcast, and I thought this was one of the most key ideas that he said. There is a difference in the nature of fraud when you're a private company versus a public company.
Right,
I think
the
this is very
economics of
important.
crime.
The economics of crime change when you go public. So what's the difference?
You get a better bang for the buck overstating your income as a public company, even if it means overpaying your taxes, than understating your income as a private company and evading your taxes. For instance, if I steal $1 million from my own company as a private company. In other words, I skim $1 million and I don't show it as income, and we have a 40% tax rate, I'm evading $400,000 in taxes. Simple math, right? $1 million, 40%, $400,000, right? If I now am a public company and I put that $1 million back into the company, right? I have an inflated pre-tax income of $1 million. I'm going to overpay my taxes by $400,000. I'm going to have an inflated net income of $600,000. And if my company is trading at a multiple of earnings, let's say 30 times earnings, PE ratio, I'm creating $18 million in fictitious wealth by overpaying my taxes by $400,000. Guess who owns most of the stock? The Crazy Eddie people. The Antar family does. We created a securities fraud by going legit. We said it was more profitable to screw investors than to screw the Internal Revenue Service. That was the whole idea behind the Crazy Eddie fraud.
Okay, I'm going to jump forward again. What was it like in prison, and did you do a Shawshank Redemption kind of thing where you started doing everyone's tax accounting for
Well,
them?
my kids are here. Believe it or not, I didn't go to prison. I got house arrest, and when they were young, because they were too young to be traumatized by what was going on, they'd see Daddy wearing an ankle bracelet, so they'd bring their friends over to show off their daddy's ankle bracelet.
So did you tell on your own family members?
Yes, but not my immediate family, my cousins. Yes, of course, absolutely. You think I'm going to go to jail for them?
Have to have some standards.
Yeah, some
So
say.
one thing I'm very curious about, and we just have a couple minutes left, is these days with computers and all kinds of more ease of tracking inventory, is it harder to do fraud these days?
No,
or is it?
crime evolves. I'll give you one example with computers and everything. One of the questions raised by Wall Street prior to us going public was whether we had an adequate computer system, which we didn't. So what do? We get Computer World magazine to bring one of their beautiful female reporters over, right? And she writes the story about Crazy Eddie's computer system that tracks inventory. And we put a nice lady with a mini skirt in front of the computers, and all the red, orange, and yellow lights are going on, and people think we have a great computer system.
If
Is that simple?
Distraction's always more important than the lie.
if you were going to do a fraud today, in modern times, what would it be?
Multi-level marketing or timeshares, because it's legitimate fraud. I see people, I've done work on the forensic side on that. I see people getting fleeced all the time by these industries pretending to be legitimate businesses. I mean, they might be good investments for Wall Street. I'm not here to talk about investments, and actually I haven't been in the market for over a decade. But I will tell you, these companies are the scum of American capitalism. They're the ruination of American capitalism. They should not be allowed to exist.
All right. Sam Antar, the former CFO of Crazy Eddie, thank you very much for your lessons on fraud.
Thank you.